Hello and welcome to the Core Advantage podcast. My name's Darren McInnes.
And I'm Jacob Tober.
On the podcast, we talk about all things sports science, strength and conditioning, and athletic development.
You'll find links, show notes, and references in the podcast details and also on our website.
All right, welcome to episode 1 of Quantum Thoughts. How you going, guys?
Collaboration between Core Advantage and Melbourne Strength Culture.
So we've got Jamie and Charlie here. Super excited to have a chat with you guys. Thanks for joining forces again. I enjoyed our chat last time so much. I was like, we should do this more because it was a really good chat.
So now we've made a whole Orphic, the Orphic education one.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
that was good. Alex facilitated that conversation well, I thought.
Yeah, he's very smooth, very skillful. So listen, I've got quite a few questions. I thought I might lead off with a couple of those and just get us going. Does that sound good?
Crazy.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Firstly, you guys are crushing it with the business side of stuff with your courses, and I'm so excited to see the way you've turned lockdown into this real positive for your business. I wanted to ask you, does it feel as successful on the inside when you're doing it as it?
No.
Does it feel like because we look at you, we're like, those guys are just crushing it. It just doesn't feel like that at all.
It's not that it doesn't feel like that at all, but I think it's always that everybody's felt it. You do well, but whatever you define as well or success or anything like that, everybody's a little bit different there. It is a subjective outcome, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like hard work. It feels like everything has always felt, which is just hard work. And you hope that something's going to land and stick within the market. And then if it does, it's fantastic. And then it finishes and you're like, all right, well, what's next? It's just sort of that continual growth. So it has been a really promising year for us in that regard, without a doubt. But from the inside, specifically for me, it always feels like, we could be doing more. It's this, that, whatever. Whether it's a competition thing, you see other people and what they are able to do, or but it's always there could be more to do. But it has been a good year. It's been a good year, but a frustrating year.
Jamie, you posted about that just a couple of days ago, about stopping to smell the roses, sharing wins, and celebrating.
Yeah, well,
wins.
this is so my girlfriend. She's very much in like mental health space and all that sort of stuff, and something that Charlie has obviously influenced me a lot. I've spoken about this a lot, but Charlie has probably shaped my mature brain more than anybody else. My parents probably through my developmental years and all that sort of stuff and going to school, but particularly in the last 4 years working with Strength Culture, Charlie has been a huge help for myself and how I frame things and look at things and all that sort of stuff. And I'll be forever grateful for that. But Charlie we used to say it every now and then, like, we should celebrate, like we're doing good things, blah, blah, blah. Like we should be celebrating more or whatever. And then my girlfriend also like heavily, like early days was like, you don't fucking celebrate anything. Like you just put the head down and just work and never turn around and be like, look, we're actually doing some cool stuff. So, I try to now, every now and then I catch myself, and I made a post last week. And I was like, fuck it, let's celebrate some small wins. So my small win last week was I did some split squats and my adductors were sore for the first time in 2-3 months because I haven't been able to do anything in the last 2 months. So that was my small win. So I do like to, it's a good feeling reflecting back and smelling the roses per se, but I definitely don't do it enough.
I love that. I think we're crap at that, aren't we, Jacob, as well?
Oh, we're the worst. Yeah.
We're just rubbish at it. I feel like a failure every single day of my life.
Yeah.
It's
not that bad.
It's because of the framing of our jobs though. We have infinite jobs. If you're a cleaner or a librarian or
like when I painted the shed.
Or when you paint a shed or you paint a wall, like the job finishes. Like if you're a cleaner and you're doing a shift, you've cleaned the building, you're done. Like the floors are mopped, the windows are cleaned, the toilets are scrubbed. You're like literally there's no more work to be done. You need to go home and rest. Whereas with, I think maybe it's the business side of it in particular, it's infinite. It's like, well, we could refine that website. We could, put more links in. We could write another blog post. We could do more on social. We could record more podcasts. We could do more marketing. We could learn more things. Like, you can always do more. Whether you should or not is the other question. But it always feels like you don't finish and it's like, I've ticked off some things today, but I actually added more things to my list than I ticked off.
Yeah, that's
mentally is tricky.
Charlie, how do you think about that? Because I think I need to stop thinking of when I've ticked things off as success, because my to-do list is always going to, like, the more successful I am, the more the list grows. I've actually got to just go, did you do a thing? What's your
yeah, that's exactly sort of how what Jacob said is how I've felt, because upon reflection, and I always like to use Jordan Peterson's rule of don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And when I do look at it in that perspective, I look back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I'm doing way more as a coach, and consistent podcasts with the biggest guests we've ever had. Me and Buzz have been making consistent YouTube content this year. Been finally doing some Instagram work, writing some posts there. The quality of people I'm coaching is better than it's ever been before. But you always look back and go, I'm not doing enough. And I've really struggled with that in lockdown, because there's more time. I almost feel guilty when I sit down. Like, Fridays, I've pretty much just written off from work. I just don't do any work anymore because I was making myself feel guilty.
Jamie, how do you feel about this? Bosses on the line.
I was getting all my Charlie's got to, whatever you want to do, man, just do it. Just keep your clients happy.
I was getting my work done Monday to Thursday, but like Friday, my girlfriend was home from work. She works in childcare, and we usually just binge watch. We just watch Breaking Bad. We binge watched that. Nice. But I was actually feeling guilty. I was like, I should be doing more. I should be writing a blog, or I should be but I was like, sometimes are we just doing things just to fill the void and the space to feel productive, when we probably need to learn to sit back and just actually, as you said, smell the roses and enjoy those times of like sitting with your girlfriend and watching a TV show, because when the gym does open again, we're probably not going to have those opportunities as frequently. So that's sort of where I sit with it. I am the most productive I've ever been. I've got to sort of, as Jamie said, learn to be a bit more grateful. Just sort of have a bit more perspective on it, and realize that it's all right to kick back and do nothing as well, and watch TV and just spend time with my girlfriend and go for walks and stuff, instead of always being like, write a blog or do this podcast and stuff. Because we're doing all that. We are doing all that. We are getting stuff done.
Yeah, that's why I love camping so much. Because when you're camping, you can't you can't clean up the house, you can't do anything. You're just actually in the moment doing it, and you can't. It's that guilt-free sit around time. I'd like to be able to manufacture a little bit more around the house as well. That'd be nice.
I definitely enjoy that aspect. So I just watched Survivor Winners at War, which was their season, the American season 40, and they had all winners from previous shows, and they had a thing called I can't remember the name of the beach, but it was where they sent all the evictees, and they all just sat on this beach, and at the end they were interviewing them. They had the chance to get back in the game, and a few of them were just like, it was just so nice to just have nothing. We weren't playing the game, because we weren't actually playing the game of Survivor, and we were just sitting on the beach, just obviously waiting for our chance to get back in, but we were just it was just time to just reflect on life and where I've come, and how, and most of them have kids now and stuff. And I almost would love to do something like that, because we just get so caught up in life with technology and this and that. And we never really, we sort of are getting it now in lockdown, but there's still the element of, we've got to sort of keep a business.
It's a weird limbo we're in. It's not quite the full relaxation.
Camping or just being out in isolation.
One of the best things I've ever done is I've bought myself a second phone. Like, I've bought a personal phone that's completely disconnected from the business. And so I get home now, and I don't just put my phone to sleep. I physically turn off the work phone.
Which is trickier than you think on these fancy iPhones these days. They've added extra buttons, and you got to hold it for about a minute.
They're trying to stop me. It's a whole process, but it's really good, because it just means that I have that sense of, okay, it's fully, I'm off the clock, and I can't receive people's emails. I can't receive texts. If the gym's burning down, I'm not going to find out about it till the next morning. It's been really good.
It's to the level that I don't even know that number yet. Like, If anyone in the business is going to get it, it'd be me, but I don't even have the number. So I'd have to call Kate, I reckon, because I've got Kate's number. I'd have to go to her to get onto you.
You'd have to call Kate to get onto me. Yeah.
Very off the grid.
Funny. That phone. Hey, when we were just talking about the social stuff, so Charlie, I'm trying for probably like the 5th time to get my game on with the social media, because it actually makes me feel pretty anxious when I get around that stuff and I start writing posts. So it repels me every time I start doing it for a while. You're not as interested. You don't gravitate towards it because you're not as into it, but you're pushing yourself to do it as well. I'd love to hear what you don't like about it and what you're trying to push.
Well, the part I didn't like about it was that I was always glued to my phone as a consumer, whereas now I deleted it for a long time, so I sort of broke that habit, and now I pretty much only use it as a user, and I don't really scroll on it. I don't really consume Instagram. Like, I don't really use it like on a day-to-day basis. I sort of make my posts. I might check it here and there just to respond to messages and comments and all that stuff. So that's sort of how I found a good relationship with it. The other thing was writing posts on my laptop. I don't actually write them on my phone. I write them on my laptop, and then open up my.
What do you write them?
I write them on Google Docs. Google Docs. Then I open it up on my phone, copy it, and put it into Instagram. That way, I just don't like writing posts on my phone. I just prefer to write it on a laptop. I can sort of sit and think, and because sometimes posts do take me 15, 20 minutes to sort of write, just to articulate my ideas in a way that I like.
That sounds so good. How can you teach me how to do it that quickly?
15, 20, 30. Yeah,
I'm so slow with it. I sweat on them so hard.
I think that what I've tried to do is who is this post for? What's the point of this post? Sometimes you get all these ideas and you're like that. And I read some other people's posts and I'm like, that doesn't, there's no point to that. Like, who's actually getting something out of that? Is it for other coaches? Is it for clients? Are you trying to attract a new person in? And because I probably got caught up in just writing stuff for the sake of writing stuff. Whereas it's like, there needs to be a point of who this is actually for.
Doesn't add value. Yeah.
So I guess the way I've sort of framed the whole Instagram thing is I'm trying to use the writing as a chance to get better at writing and articulating my ideas. So the goal isn't for Instagram. The goal is for being able to learn something and articulate my ideas.
I love that. You're framing it as a skill development exercise rather than, and then it takes the pressure off and focus in the right way.
So I love that. That's how I've sort of enjoyed it, because I have sort of gotten a lot more interested in learning again, because I think since starting guitar, I've realized that, we can learn completely new skills that we had no idea about before. So I've always put myself in the category of I'm a poor writer, but I haven't spent any time practicing writing. So if I practice writing, I'll get better at writing.
Well, and I think you're a good thinker. If you're a good thinker, it's inevitable if you practice, you'll become a good writer, because you've got the clarity in your head. It's just getting the reps in it at getting them out.
Yeah, exactly. So if I can get a couple, that's how I'm using Instagram. That's how I framed it. That's
cool. I like that a lot. That's really good.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, so is it Quantum Lifting? Is that what your Instagram is?
Quantum_lifting.
Quantum_lifting. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about the guitar. So did you learn from scratch?
Yeah, the only musical experience I'd had was in year 7 and 8 at Salesian, where Jamie and I attended high school. And I did tenor saxophone in year 7. And I swapped to alto because it was smaller in year 8. Yep. So I did that. And then I never touched a musical instrument, so I just did the bare minimum of high school requirements for music. And I always said I wanted to learn guitar, but it's one of those things you always say and you never get around to it. And then one of our clients plays guitar. He's played his whole life, and he brought me his acoustic, and he goes, "Here, just take it. And if you like it, you can borrow my guitar for a bit." I've still borrowed it a year later. He still hasn't. And he goes, "You can just buy one if you like it, and you want to stick with it, then buy one." So he gave it to me, and it just started, and I started just diving into YouTube videos, and then I spoke to a few other people that had, like this guy, He owns SimCity and I can't remember what it's up in Queensland. Gold Coast. Noosa. Aaron Sim, and he's a gun guitar player, and so I've spoken to him a bit, and our client at work, and started sort of dabbling in that. And they gave me a few good like apps to sort of subscribe to. Someone like that have helped me. This website Pickup Music that has been really useful. It's got masterclass, and then I just started like that, and then I realized that if I actually applied the motor learning and skill development of how we teach people to move in the gym to the guitar, it was the exact same. It was just for my left hand. So it was just left hand strength and dexterity on holding strings down and learning how to transition from chords and moving fingers from string to string. So if I applied the same principles, which is like, what do? We teach people, we teach them low threshold, move slow, repetitions, progressively overload them. And it was the same sort of concept. And so, I'm getting to a point now where I'm sort of learning to actually play in time with songs. So I'm playing with the metronome in time to the songs. And I've realized that you've sort of got to do the boring stuff. That's what actually makes you get better. Yeah. So that was how that sort of eventuated. And then it's been about a year now, and it's really starting to sort of come to fruition where it's like, I can actually play this thing decently.
And that's awesome. And that'll be lighting. There'll be different parts of your brain that are lighting up because of that you're working that were probably dormant as well.
100%.
That are dormant in my brain because I'm not doing any music.
They definitely. I've watched some videos and even the books I've read that talk about that. Like taxi drivers have a bigger hippocampus, I believe, because
particularly in London.
Because of this, like, it's something to do with the way the brain coordinates and memory and maps and moving around, and so that part of their brain's actually bigger. I read the book The Brain That Changes Itself, which at the same time sort of coincided with learning guitar, and I started to realize the plastic properties of the brain.
And so cool.
I think as adults we get very fixed in what we're good at. I'm good at this, I'll just stick with this, and we forget that we can teach ourselves to do new skills and learn new skills. And I think Luke Tulloch is someone that sort of had a bit of inspiration with me on that. I love
his work, by the way. I'm a keen follower of his on Insta, and I think he's just great.
He's just got that mindset, I feel, very similar to Jamie and I, where it's like, I just want to learn things. Like he wants to go and learn carpentry just to build shit. Like he's like, I don't have to be a carpenter, but I just want to go do a TAFE course and learn to build stuff. And I just admire that, because why not?
I think that's what I enjoy. That's one of the biggest things out of this whole lockdown thing for me has been getting back into learning stuff, just making the time. Like I'm watching one of your courses. I'm watching the Reps in Reserve, the RPE course at the moment, and I'm taking notes, and it's really good. Just that feeling of being able to be a student. Like I really, if I'm defining the things I most like, it's learning and then distilling what I've learned and then making it really simple and teaching someone else. That's my favorite thing to do in the world, work-wise.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but you just get lost in doing all the other business stuff that you actually, or I did anyway. I kind of lost track of that. It's funny, the learning thing too, Jacob, you were just talking about how you feel that satisfaction when you've, like me painting the shed, like I'd finished that thing.
Closing a loop.
I get so much satisfaction out of typing now because I copied you and I went for the Colmac keyboard a couple of years ago. And do you guys know about the
I remember this conversation. There's the thing you put on the keyboard and it's more efficient.
No, there's no thing on my keyboard anymore.
You bought the keyboard?
No. I am a full-on eyes closed typer. I can type blind.
Touch typer.
Really? Yeah.
That's my mum. My mum's a touch typer.
Yeah. And my wife's blisteringly fast. I love it. It's so satisfying. Like it was a skill I never thought I'd have, and now except I can't do it if someone's looking at me.
So when the pressure's on,
pressure's on, it goes to pieces, and then I can't. And because none of the keys are marked properly, the pressure's on, it goes to pieces, and I can't. So I have to calm down, feel your way through it.
You get anxious.
Yeah. Did you do any specific, or you just learned just from doing, or was there anything?
I treated it like the guitar thing. Like I did I spent forever really slowly. I did, the book The Talent Code. Have you guys read that?
No.
It talks
Yeah.
about, Daniel
Brad
Cole
Wells?
talks about laying down the
yeah.
myelin, and that you want to lay down the sort of insulation around the neural pathways of what you're doing, and so it's that combination of slow and deliberate, intense work. So I like really slowly typed, and I was like, I'd be like H, like I'd really think, and I'd be really like focused on the feeling of that feels like H. Like I really went after it. I got a bit of RSI. I had some issues. But yeah, I just built it up like that. But what was interesting is it took ages to get good. Like I thought, I got to a certain point and I was like, I'm just, it's, I'm away. But then it took another whole year for it to consolidate. Jacob, you made the switch really rapidly. Like you listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast and like a week later decided that you were in typical Jacob style going Colmac.
It was
What was
Matt Mullenweg, was it, from WordPress?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he typed Dvorak, and when he wrote WordPress, I'll just link to this show, but when he wrote WordPress, he did it with polyphasic sleep, where he did 4 hours on, 20-minute naps, 4 hours on, like all the time. And he typed with the Dvorak keyboard. And Tim asked, would you go to Dvorak again? He said, actually, I'd go to Colmac because it's less of a change from a normal keyboard. So on my phone, I've just got a normal QWERTY keyboard, but then on my computer, it's Colmac. But yeah, I just got the covers, like changed the settings in the computer and just went for it. And then haven't gone as deliberately as you did about it, Darren, but subconsciously I can touch type. But I don't think, like when it goes deliberate, when you take the keys away, I turned a bit to mush. So the skill's not as solid as it is for you, I don't think, Darren. But it in general use, it's pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. I found we will get off typing because people did not tune in for the typing, but I just want to close the loop on it. I've found that my crappy iPad keyboard, where the keys are really distinct, like they're real islands, like they're not right next to each other.
Yeah.
I found that actually was the biggest change for me because it's like there was so much more room, so you knew where it was a kind of broader rather than the more fine skill. Anyway,
I'm having a look at what a Colmac keyboard is.
I want to listen to that book, The Talent Code.
Yeah, Talent Code's great. Daniel Cole also wrote The Culture Code, which is probably my favorite book of all time. Top three book. Yeah. It's really good.
Talent Code. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Because I had two books that really influenced me around that same period that I'm sort of molding my Strength Congress talk around, was The Brain That Changes Itself and Atomic Habits, which both sort of fitted. Like The Brain That Changes Itself was actually, the plastic properties of the brain, and then Atomic Habits was sort of, how do I actually make something a habit? So playing guitar every day, and so they sort of really fitted well with each other because I started to, and same as you said with the typing, I was like making things really deliberate. So like holding a chord, if I could hear there was a dead note, I'd like pluck every string and be like, right, which one's the dead note? All right, cool. So if I change my hand like that, that sounds better. All right, so hold that position and feel that position. I will just hold it for like 30 seconds. Same as like you'd get someone to hold a plank for 30 seconds to feel their rib cage and pelvis position. So it was like I was just applying those same things, which is pretty much, what you said about that real deliberate sense and feel the positions, which is exactly what we talk about in the gym.
Yeah.
With like tempo work and moving slow and adding pauses into movements.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I got another question on this. Jamie, I'm going to swing around to you on the social as well. Your social game is really strong. How do you?
Really?
Yeah, I think it's really good because like it just feels like it's you. It doesn't feel like there's no, you don't hold anything back. There's no, a lot of the time, there's a bit of posing that goes on in terms of how we position ourselves, and you're just you, warts and all. If you do something stupid, you'll say, I did something stupid. If you do something smart, you say, this is kind of smart. I like this. Like you're really good with it.
Plus, there's a volume thing, Darren, where he's posting at a rate far and beyond any of the other three of us on this show.
How do you think about it? Do you have is there an underpinning strategy where you are like, I need to do this? Do you have something you're aiming at, or is it just what you're feeling?
A lot of the times it's just what I'm feeling. I work in phases with how I structure the type of content and the target market, because for my personal brand, and this is something that we do discuss with the coaches that come through our programs and stuff, but the development of your personal brand, I think, has as much value as the development of your actual brand, specifically in the type of market that we reside in, which is really just, it is a relationship driven, like, people market. We're not at the size of the brand that Nike is at or Apple is at, where the personal brand of the specific employees don't matter as much as the entire thing as a whole. I think in our team, the four of us as individuals is just as important to strength culture as strength culture is to it in and of itself. Like, I don't think that I can replace Charlie tomorrow and it won't have an effect on strength culture. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's going to completely change all of the dynamics of everything. So I do believe that developing your personal brand within our space is incredibly important. So there is thought with that, and there is, as a result of where my personal brand is currently, where, yes, I'm a business owner. I don't even really call myself a strength coach anymore because I don't really coach that many people, but I'm a business owner, but then I'm also want to get into this more of this developing coaches and education and all that sort of stuff. So I know that with my personal content, I need to hit both of those markets. I have this business and what I'm doing with this business and the results from this business, but also it's, hey, I can maybe help you and do all of that sort of stuff as well. So it may go in phases depending on what products we're launching or anything like that, where I'm targeting more of like our results, or I'm targeting more of like the guys I'm working with and what I'm producing with the educational side of things. But there is a conscious effort to build personal brand alongside strength culture, without a doubt. So hearing that and saying that I am authentic, and because I do try to be authentic on there, and I think we've all sort of gone through one from two ends of this. So I think we've all sort of met people in person after following them online. It's like a don't meet your heroes type of thing, because they're just not the people that you think that you've built them up to be. Because I've definitely had that, or I've had conversations with people after have been friends with them online, and then all of a sudden you meet them in person, and it's like, well, maybe this just isn't what I thought it was. And it's whether or not they're being fake or you're being fake or disingenuous in that relationship or something like that. But it's just like, maybe this wasn't the right thing for me. So that would be one side of things. But also, I think you don't want that disparity, because you just don't want to be in that position where your personal persona, you have to fake it. It's like, why do I want to? Yeah, like it's
just tiring, isn't it?
Yeah, like it just makes me feel icky. It makes me feel having to like put on a persona for somebody that I want to try to be, but it's like, that's just acting, and it's not that. So if I fuck something up, I'm gonna say I fucked it up, and I like to think that I am genuine online. So I do like that. You've identified that, Darren.
No, it really comes across. And it's a nice segue. I want to talk about the business stuff, because I'm one of those classic people who have a million different ideas and follow through on, less than 1% of them. What I love is watching you both go after what you're doing, but also turn that in the teaching stuff. And so I'm enrolled for your business course. I'm hanging for that. Business strength. I think that's brilliant. I think it's something that our industry really needs. The response to that seems to be really good.
Yeah, it's flying. Yeah.
I love the way the way you're just breaking stuff down simply for people. Where did your ability to break that down so simply come from? Like, is that?
I don't know. And this is
because you cut through a lot. You cut through a lot of the shit and just go, okay, this is what we need to focus on.
This is what matters. Yeah. I don't know if it's a learned skill, but I can't remember who. Oh, it was in that. You were in it. The round table we had with Ben Scott for Jared's thing.
Oh yeah.
The three of us were on that, and and somebody asked, "Oh, do you think it's potential for the industry to have employees at these gyms?" And you and I were like, 100%. Like that's what we're trying to build. As much as I want strength culture to be this, like our overriding goal for strength culture is to be the number one strength training facility in Australia. We will never objectively get there. Like, it's not there, but the four of us are working together to push our brand and our results and what we provide to Australia to be the best place in Australia. And that's what we, and part of that is, all right, well, I need to take a team with me and I need to develop this team to have employees within my business that I can run for 10, 15, 20 years with in order to create the momentum and to do that. So when somebody asks a question like that, like, oh, can you generate employees within your industry or within your staffing? And you and I are sitting there and we're like, yeah, 100% we can. Well, that's because part of what we're trying to do is to create the position that we wish we had. And that's honestly when I was 21, 22, and I had identified that where I was working wasn't working for me. I'd sort of, not that I'd outgrown it, I just didn't align with what was happening there anymore. Where do I turn to? I look in the industry and there's nothing. I just go join another gym and run as a PT there. There's nowhere to work. There's nowhere to join a team and to develop the skill set of. So building strength culture, our end goal is to be the number one strength training gym in Australia. Arbitrary goal that probably never get reached, but it's a fun thing to chase for. But the subsidy goal is to create an environment for employees to come and work as part of a team and to be part of that. And I actually think that the core group that we have now at Strength Culture is that. So I created Strength Culture to feed the 21-year-old me when I was lost in the industry. And now I think I'm just applying that into this education side of thing. It's now I'm building the information that I wish someone had taught me 4 years ago when I started Strength Culture, because I didn't fucking know anything when I started Strength Culture. I still don't know anything. Like, we sit in meetings and I'm like, oh, I read a book, This is Marketing by Seth Godin, and it just completely flipped the way that I look at marketing. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm a marketing wizard. Like, I'm learning this sort of stuff and like it's working and it's kind of working. I'm just learning things. I'm like, other people need to see this because it's just not Seth Godin. Yeah, Seth Godin's unreal. So I'm definitely consistently still learning every day and what we're doing with the business side of things. But I'm always just trying to view back to what were the questions I used to ask? How can I get better at helping that person? And that's sort of how I try to create everything is what was Jamie asking 4 years ago and how can I help him make better decisions? And I just pass that on to other people, I guess.
So you're scratching, and the smart thing is, the reason I think it resonates so much is that it's not some made up thing. You're literally scratching your own itch. Like, it's an old itch, but it's your own itch. It's what you need,
definitely. Yeah. It's all the anxiety and the sleepless nights and all that sort of stuff from our first 2 years before I started to delegate tasks. It's all of that in a short course. It's like, well, do you actually know your target market? Do you know what they're looking for? Do you know how to run finance? Like, do you understand what GST is? Like, just like little, like really basic things that
really basic but important things that I did not understand at the start. My brother's explaining it to me, and I'm like, like, it took ages to get. It's like, how did you not know that?
Yeah, no, it's so the goal with that is just to help me. 4 years ago, when I wanted to start a gym and I had no help because I just didn't know who to ask or where to go or anything like that. That's the goal of it. So
that's awesome. Well, I can't wait to kick off with it.
It'll be good fun. It'll be great
really
fun.
Good. I feel like I'm asking all the questions, but I got another one that I think is going to lead to more an open to and fro. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask, or should I go with another one of mine?
I actually, I've noticed a few things that what you guys are doing, so I wouldn't mind unpacking that.
Yeah, sure.
But you go with your one first.
No, I'm sick of asking. You go, and I'll come back.
All right, because I saw that you sort of rebranded into like Catalyst is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
2 new courses.
The other one, and the other one is
Catalyst and Traction.
And Traction is like the personal sort of side of things.
Yeah, so we had some really good feedback from our friends at Science for Sport, because we've done a bit of stuff with them, and they're great guys. And Owen basically said to me, he said to us, you know, your online mentorship. Said, it's not really a mentorship course.
He basically said, "Where's the mentoring?" He said, "Cool mentorship. Where's the mentoring?"
Because it's just
like bullshit on us.
I see.
I see your point. And his point was that we didn't really have the mentorship in it, but he said, if you could come up with something good like that, that might be good, that might be useful. And so we went back to basics and said, okay, what do we really need here? So the first thing was accepting the brutal truth that the online mentorship is actually a practical master's. It's a really high level practical course of all this technical, tactical stuff you need to know, but it's not a genuine. It wasn't at that point a genuine mentorship. When people come into our building, we mentor them because we're in face to face with them, so they're going to get mentored.
Yeah, it's very personalized.
But it wasn't structured properly. So we went back to basics and said, all right, let's make this course. We called it Traction. The idea being that it's all of the soft skill, emotional skill, operational skills, everything except the technical stuff, which actually dictates a lot more of how much traction you get in your career anyway.
I think I agree with that.
Just like you're saying, Jamie, with networking, how important that is, and it's a people-based business. In terms of other coaches and athletes and clients, the whole lot.
It's relationships,
Yeah. So, and it's a lot of things. It's actually a fair bit of it was inspired by the talk that I gave for you guys at Strength Congress last year, because I got a really good response because I didn't know if anyone was going to like that. I was like,
that was great. I loved it.
And so a fair bit of it's an expansion of those concepts around world-class work, treating people with kindness, sharpening the saw, all that kind of stuff, just broken down into a proper course. So we had that, plus we've now, the other thing is it's similar to what you're doing in the sense with their business mentoring. They get access to me. If you do the course, you get access to me to actually tell you what you need to hear.
Yep.
And set homework and say, okay, you need to read this book, do this, do that. And so it's a proper mentoring pathway. It's kind of cool. What I've liked about it is my mentoring in the real world is a bit more ad hoc than I'd like to admit. Like, it's a bit more reactive. People do the thing crap and you go, hey, that's not good. You should try and do this. But the course actually forced me to really deconstruct everything and lay it out of what's the progression of what you want to get done. So that was Traction. And then Catalyst is the old online mentorship plus the senior mentorship rolled into that, plus the advanced VBT course. Jacob, is that all in Catalyst? It's kind of everything.
So the mentorship was effectively an 18-week post-grad course. It was aimed at sort of people who just finished their third year, not sure where they're going. Maybe they're started in the industry but haven't really made good momentum yet, to like set a framework for how they think about stuff. Because I think too often we learn a thing and we just throw it at some clients and see if it sticks, and then find another thing and then throw that at some new clients. And we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants in terms of actual development. But what the mentorship is like, well, let's just go back to anatomy and start from there and go, okay, well, this is how everything works together. And then, well, when you've got that, now you can understand how the nervous system controls all that, and you can kind of build a framework for training and programming and philosophy from there. And so that was 18 weeks initially, but it's now more like 30 units, I think, 28, 30 units. And so all our short courses on our website are made up into Catalyst, into one big course. So you can buy one course and just sort of sharpen your saw in one specific area, or you got the whole thing and sort of do a complete rewrite or a complete boost to your skill set as a coach or as a trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is it should be more, the idea of Catalyst is it's an operating system rather than just knowledge.
Yep.
I think that's the key thing. Yeah. It's been fun. And we sweated on the names. Like, God, it's hard to come up with good names.
all the names are gone.
All the good names are gone. But I'm quite happy with it now, because at least they say what they are a bit, and they're distinct.
They're distinct, definitely.
So I'm always trying to atone for the sin of our terrible name, Core Advantage.
Jarrett said this. You said you were speaking to, and he said you hate the name.
I
Talk
hate
us
it
through
so
that.
hard.
What's going on there?
It's so long to type every time you type it.
Mate, you telling Melbourne
Adds-
strength culture that? What are you fucking talking about?
No, because like what I love about your name is, for instance, as an example, is that you've got the culture component, which is such a vital thing. It's a strength thing. It's very clear that you're not a personal training company. It's very clear that you're not a Pilates studio. Like you, in the name, it says what you are. Core Advantage. It sounds like if you didn't know us, you go, oh, that could be a gym for fit mums to train at lunchtime. You know, so I love the logo, like the icon. I'm ecstatic with, but I'd happily swap out the.
What would you change it to?
I don't know.
We're all ears. What do you got for us?
Tell us.
I'll have to think.
I think. Look, the one thing I do like about the name is we chose it as a little bit of a play on words, in the sense of the core advantage, the essential advantage of doing a thing. So it's not just, so, and I liked it at the time because I didn't know what direction the business was going to go. So it gave us a little more flexibility. But yeah, and we just talk about it as CA. We don't really talk about it as core advantage that much. We just shorten it. So.
Core performance, just slip there.
Yeah, cool. Well, there's about 80 different businesses with some variation.
Performance.
It's like when Exos, they used to be called, what did Exos? I can't remember what Exos used to be called.
Athletes Performance.
Athletes Performance, and they changed their name. And I remember I was like, "Oh, that's so stupid! They've got such a good brand name around Athletes Performance." And my brother Tommy was like, "No, that's really smart because there's 80 different businesses called some variation of Athletes Performance." Yeah. So we'd love a name like Exos, one that's really distinct but has some meaning. But I think I might just have to concede that we have an imperfect name, and that's okay.
That's all right.
It's expensive to change a name. It's very, very expensive.
Oh, you have to change everything.
And I'm not changing this. I love the icon. It's staying forever. So it would have to be the new brand name would have to be a C and an A.
Catalyst.
Makes it hard.
Catalyst Attackers. There we go. Sorted. Good meeting.
I do like Catalyst.
Yeah, it's a good name.
I do like that name. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's a nice word. Very nice word.
Catalyst.
Yeah, I like
Catalyst.
it a lot. Yeah, maybe we just change to that. Yes, that's why we've done that, and because the other thing is we want to do a bit more of a push. On a scale of 1 to 10, we're about a 1.5 for actually marketing our education stuff. We just kind of make it and then leave it there and hope the world discovers it. Just not the best plan, but we're going to push that a little bit more as well.
Yeah,
so I think that'll be kind of good. I was wanting to ask you guys. I'm dying to ask you about trends in the lifting area. I see trends that sometimes mystify me and piss me off, but I'm kind of too out of the loop to understand. And I'll give you an example. At the moment, Zercher. Am I saying that right?
Zercher, yeah.
Zercher squats are like so fashionable at the moment. Everyone's getting very excited about them. I hate them. They're so uncomfortable and
I'm with you.
Jacob, could you try them?
Is it just variety for the sake of variety? Is that what it is?
So
Charles,
I did them because I wanted to do them. So I asked Bryce, I'm like, give them to me. I can't remember why. I think because Kyle Dobbs was doing them. I was pretty bored with training. This was in the second lockdown. I was just miserable. I was like, so me and Bryce are like, we're going to give you a program that you want to do, like something you enjoy. So I'm like, give me Zercher, something completely novel, different, never done them before. And I ended up doing really well with them. I ended up doing 180 for 3, which was
180.
Yeah, it was. So that's why when everyone complains
raw
about 60,
on your elbows.
No,
you used sleeves. You had sleeves on.
No, I didn't use sleeves. I can go back and look at the video. Sometimes I wrapped a jumper. Sometimes I just did it with just the bar. I figured out if I held my hands like that, really squeezed and got some tension, it felt a lot better. But it also just desensitized a little bit over time, so it wasn't as bad.
Mm.
That's why when people complain about 60 kilos in their elbows, I'm like,
You're like, please.
child's play. But then I had a couple of my clients that wanted to do them, and they asked for them, and I was like, all right. Well, so I really only sort of give them to people that ask for them or show some interest. I don't know if I think there's better ways of loading anteriorly for people that don't want to do them, because I think that, as you said, the discomfort in itself is probably the limiting factor. So I've probably got 3 clients that are doing them that want to do them. They asked them, like Brick is one of them. And that's sort of with those, I don't really program unless they want them. I think there'd be better off going with like a goblet split squat or a goblet squat or an SSB squat to try and mimic that anterior load. It's a lot more comfortable for individuals. But yeah, I guess, I don't know, there has been a little bit of it's one of those things though that I don't know if it's just become more apparent because I did them and you start to notice things more.
No, it's not. That's true. That totally happens. Like, when like when you buy a certain car, you notice that car all the time.
Everywhere.
I'm not touching them, and I was saying all of a sudden I was just seeing them pop up everywhere, and I was like, what are all these people? Because I remember seeing Pavel Tatsulin talk about them 15 years ago, and it's just like, and I tried them, like, that's just really, really uncomfortable. What do you think?
So just quickly, the Zercher front foot elevated split squat is really, really good.
Is it?
You don't have to use a lot of load. And if you're weak, use the cue of the elevator shaft. So going up and down in an elevator shaft. So no sort of forward movement. So you keep an upright torso. You've got the knee driving forward. And you don't have to use much load at all. You've got the raised foot, so a bit of extra range of motion. And they absolutely torch your quads. Like I do like 40, 45 kilos and they torch my quads, like sets of 10. So I found those really beneficial.
So you're doing that with a barbell?
With a barbell.
And how far is the front foot raised?
I use like a bumper plate.
So not much.
Yeah, just a 50 kilo bumper plate or something. They have been really beneficial because you use like no load and it destroys my quad, tortures my quads. But the Zercher squats, the bilateral, probably a little bit more tougher because you need to.
What's the benefit people think, apart from looking, because often the benefit, people will say, oh, the benefit's this, but actually the benefit is it makes me feel like a badass and like I'm original. Like it makes me feel special. Like if you could give them a truth serum, they just say, it makes me feel special. Like that's what they'd answer.
Feel special. Probably.
What's the physiological benefit that you're getting that people think? What's the change that they're getting out of it?
Biomechanics,
Yeah, the biomechanics.
Yeah, so Zach Couples talks about it. He says the anterior load, like a Zercher variation, you're getting a little bit more tone through those muscles that drive like posterior expansion, so like your serratus anterior, anterior core. But yeah, positioning the load on the front, you get a posterior shift of the rib cage. Rib cage goes back and down. Yeah, so that's mechanically that's one of the benefits. But at the end of the day, it's all just load.
Yeah,
like it really comes down to that. You're training strength or hypertrophy. You never really turn one off. It's always biased towards one, and it's just another way of getting load onto the muscle. But for me personally, I've had some niggling left patellar tendinopathy that has hung around, and I was doing single leg extensions, and they were really working. And then COVID came, and the gym's shut, and lost my leg extension.
Yep.
That was before we had one at the gym, and so I played around with them, that single leg front foot elevated Zercher variation, because I saw a Pat Davidson video, played around with them and realized I could load up my quad and my knee with very little absolute load on the bar and get a really good stimulus. So that's how I and then I was like, these actually feel really good. And my knee was feeling better doing them with a very slow tempo. And so that's how I sort of stumbled across them, because I found a Pat Davidson video.
I'm so glad I asked about that. That's I'm going to give that a go. That's really cool.
So yeah, give it a try. But again, like you could probably get away with doing a goblet.
But there's certain exercises that have certain angles that just hit your tendons in a different way, or they hit the quads a different way, and they can just be so good. Like one of the game changers for me was doing, because I got a grumpy old, my knees are both, they're 47 years old, so they're a little grumpier than is doing banded isometric hold sissy squats.
Yep.
The Spanish squats rather, not
Spanish
scissors,
squats.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, game changer for me, just because the certain angle, the stress was super helpful. So that's really cool. All right.
Yeah.
So that's one. What are the other things that are going around? Because people love to get into stuff that is the thirst for novelty. And look at me, I'm so clever. Like I'll never forget at Bodywell, the old gym I used to work at. There was a guy doing these really weird. He was doing split stance deadlifts where he's standing over the bar.
Jefferson.
And kind of
Jefferson
deadlifts.
Yeah, Jefferson deadlifts.
But like that with the bar.
Yeah, in between.
And it's like, what are you doing? And he's blah blah blah. He named some bodybuilder who I can't forget.
Kai Green used to do it as well.
Yeah, that's who he named. Yeah. What are the other things that you see now that you shake your head at because yours is a space that attracts people that are desperate to get better and have a hunger for minutia. So what are you seeing? And you're like, what are the sort of forehead slapping things that you're seeing at the moment? Can I
boycott? Jump on Durham's question as well. Answer that, please, because I'm dying to know that one. But also, so there's the specifics. But can you also talk a little bit about the broader powerlifting strength sports space as well?
Yeah.
And maybe not specifically the exercises that are popular right now, but also the general where it's going over the next 5-10 years sort of thing in terms of popularity growth.
Let's separate it. Let's ask Jake. I like Jacob's question better. Let's go with his first, and we can round out ours. Jacob's a serious question, mine's a silly one. Tell us, because the last time
direction of powerlifting.
Because the last time I really checked in with powerlifting was 2014 when I was working in a powerlifting gym, and then I've come back to it a little bit. I'm like, the landscape's shifted quite a bit. Tell us about the evolution. I'd love to hear you talk about the evolution of it and where it's come from, where it's going, and how you see it all. Yeah.
So, well, I guess the main thing is you hear most people talk about, and Chad Wesley Smith spoke about this when he was on our podcast, is that it's sort of, there was a big barrier to entry with powerlifting because it was purely just equipped. And then obviously, so you've got one very uncomfortable equipment to wear, very expensive equipment. So the barrier to entry is quite high. And then the inception of Raw came along and it sort of made it a lot easier because now anybody who had a gym membership could sort of do the squat, bench and dead, get stronger, then go, I'll do a comp. And then, you buy a belt and some knee sleeves and whatever, but that's pretty low cost stuff, but you don't need that to get started. So I think it made it.
Sorry, just to interrupt. A lot of people won't know about what equipment means. I think it's worth chatting about it. Equipment's fascinating. Like we're talking shirts with metal built into them. Like I never forget someone saying, I can only bench above 250 in this shirt because it can't get down to the bottom.
It doesn't touch,
And it always seemed to me like, well, just go, if all you want to do is lift up, go get a forklift. Like it always, it seems strange.
So,
but it's extremely supportive. It's equipment where you literally can't move.
It's like a wetsuit on steroids. It's like like when you wear a wetsuit and you can't even get your arm overhead. Like it's just like
way tighter.
There's so much tension in the actual suit itself. Obviously, it's not made of wetsuit material, but it just restricts movement into a direction. So the easiest one to understand would be the bench shirt. It restricts your ability to touch the bar to the chest. So when you put more load on it, the shirt actually takes all of that tension off your not that it takes it off your body, but it loads the shirt. It literally loads into the shirt, and then you can use the shirt to actually press the barbell back up.
And so how much more can you press?
A lot.
A shit ton.
But it's also it's a skill in itself to use the shirt, because I've benched in a bench shirt a couple times, and it's something I would like to do just for novelty purposes and just to again learn and just experience firsthand. Because we got one guy at the gym that does compete in equipped bench, and he benches 200 raw, 205 raw, and he's benched nearly 250 in a shirt. So he's added 50.
That's a big difference, isn't it?
It is a big difference. But the thing that people sort of go, if you can't lift the raw, you can't lift it. So, but it's like, well, the argument is, well, then why do we use it? Yeah, it's a different sport. It's not, you're not competing against the raw people. It's like, well, then why do people cycle? you can't go that fast on foot. Why should you cycle? It's like
Yeah.
same
Yeah,
sort of concept. It's like
a
it's
good
a different
argument,
sport. Cycling is cycling, or racing car is a racing car. Like,
And yeah, now I sidetracked you. So raw
That's right.
is you're allowed to have wraps.
Wrist wraps, knee
wrist wraps,
sleeves, and a
knee-
belt.
Depending on the federation, but
Yeah,
raw
it's
is pretty
different.
much anybody in the gym can do it. You just walk in,
Yeah.
you get it. As long as you got a barbell, a rack, and plates, you can do raw lifting. Like you
raw.
don't need any of this special stuff. You don't need a training partner. You can do it at any gym. You're not going to get funny looks. You just squat, bench, press, and deadlifting. Like it's just normal strength training.
And you're not going to tear your skin off. I saw people get their skin torn off when they're trying to get out of suits.
You get like
cool. I want my
bruises
skin
and
on.
stuff. Yeah, it's like pinch it. And the thing is, the heavier you go and the closer you, like for a bench, closer you get to touching, the more it's stretching on your skin. So you get all these bruises and stuff. And the people that do it, like my coach included, they rave about it. Like they love it. And I feel like there's like this addictive property of like the pain and the thrill and the exhilaration. Similar to how people get addicted to tattoos or, adrenaline sports. It's got that kind of, that adrenaline junkie sort of vibe to it.
So interesting. Anyway, so you were saying so that there's the raw came about and that made it more accessible.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about trends in powerlifting, equipped lifting is the not trend. It is going.
It's going away.
It's going as far away the opposite direction as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Raw is the trend.
Like within Australia, there's only like a handful of people that still do equipped.
Yeah.
It's very, very. Whereas there's thousands and thousands that do raw, and so I think a big aspect of it too was the popularity of social media. In what Instagram came about in 2011, 12, whenever that was, and so you have people lifting really heavy weights, posting on Instagram comps. It's kind of just it just seems to like exponentially grow. And I guess so I think those couple reasons are really sort of. But I came into it later. Like I came in. So when Jamie did his junior nationals in 2014 or 15 or something, 14, there was again not that many people involved in it.
I think in terms of like trends for the sport though, because Durham, I know that we've had this conversation, but like the whole West Side, what everyone thinks of, that anybody that has had experience with powerlifting or knows what powerlifting is, you get the very West Side influence, being that it's like heavy training, yelling, tattoos, big meatheads, and all this sort of stuff, which I think science has entered the world of powerlifting, and you can't get away from that now.
Yeah.
We have debunked a lot of the traditional training methods that just were ego-driven, steroid-infused methods, really. And science, this world of science, this world of, all right, what are the underlying principles of the application that we need to apply here? And then how do we actually progress this over time? And how do we do this safely for longevity and all that sort of stuff? I think that has definitely penetrated powerlifting to a point where it is as much a science sport now as any sport, I think, in the world. We have data on all sorts of things. And when we think about there's certain companies that are really driving this forward. Reactive training systems will probably be one of them, but the analysis of the athlete, understanding who the athlete is, what they respond to at an individual level, and then applying their own methods to that individual moving forward. I think that is the direction that powerlifting is going more than anything else. It's just now a science-driven sport. It's how do we make this system more efficient for the individual. Whereas it used to be, if you're not doing 5x5s, you're not getting stronger. It's like, well, hang on, like, where's any of that? Where's the context for that? Like, why do we broad sweep everybody with the same stroke? So I think that is probably the biggest trend in powerlifting, is this application of science principles, really, or science-backed principles into the sport.
And it used to be that it was a badge of honor having crazy injuries. So the stories, because I spent 15 years in a powerlifting gym, so I've seen some stuff. I've seen a guy snap his patella clean off the bone. It's like quad just bang. Heard great stories about someone squatting so heavy they had an avulsion fracture of their adductor, like it ripped the bone off. Like, yeah. And it was always, like war stories stuff. I fear, and I sort of, a number of catastrophic pec tears as well. It feels to me like there's less. It's more about getting good and less about stories about how you broke yourself doing it. Is that also accurate?
Yeah, well, I think that, and again, it just ties in with the whole science thing. We understand load better now. We understand sort of like red flags for injuries. Training load's probably the biggest thing. We sort of understand when to push, when to pull. And that's where RPE, we believe RPE is probably the biggest puzzle piece there. If you understand RPE and you can get good, true RPE data from your athlete, you'll probably know, hopefully, previous when that knee is going to just rip off the bone, barring a tragic injury. But that whole stigma about this idea that you're going to battle every Saturday with this heavy squat session, I think that has definitely, that ship has passed for most of the people that are in the sport anyway. They probably never were even on that ship because they are so new to the sport anyway. But the grungy attitude-based lifting, it's just not as prevalent as it used to be.
And so your athletes compete mostly in which there's all these different competitions. Where are yours doing most?
We're on the natural side of the fence, and we are in the raw category. So
okay,
no drugs, and it's all just normal lifting.
Is there a geared side? Like, are there people doing geared and raw as well? Like, is it all the different permutations?
Yeah. Yep. You can do that. That's probably the biggest side of the industry. The two big sides are the raw natural and the raw enhanced would be the two biggest ones. And then equipped lifting is sort of just like
dwindling.
Yeah, it's just there, but it's not really there.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So exercises that used to drive me crazy, deficit deadlifts. I would just look at that. I'm like, why are you going deeper into the range than you need to, and just loading up the discs? What are the other things that you look at and go, that's a bit silly? Like, this is a better, better play.
Watching guys do like rack pulls above their knees just to lift double above their max. But that new fad is that gun,
the Theragun.
Let's have an argument about this. Because wait a minute,
he's going
to go get it.
Charles.
Well, maybe Darren maybe you can persuade me. What's your experience been like on it?
I'll tell you a story. I was dubious about the Theragun, but we happened to have one at work, and I had a bit of a play with it. And I'd been having calf awareness.
Hang on. More than a play. Darren, we got one for work. I was like, hey, guys, try out this Theragun. Oh, cool. We'll let the athletes play with it. The coaches can use it. It just disappeared. It's just gone for like 2 weeks. And then it came back. It's like, hey, Darren, I had it at home. Some leader he is.
I'm in my 40s. I need a little bit of extra help, and I did the wrong thing. Jacob was not happy with me, and that was appropriate, and I appreciated his chastising. For me, in my calf, it completely fixed up all my calf tightness. I was like, this is amazing, and I'm totally sold on it but I'm sold on it for one purpose. Like it for me, for my calf, it was amazing. I don't know anything beyond that. And it got rid of a bit of tightness that no amount of massage, physio, or dry needling had got rid of over the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, there's something in it for me. But people are going crazy with it, aren't they, Charlie? Like, they're just doing it as though it's everything.
A couple of people, one of the guys at the gym bought one, and then afterwards he's like, I probably could have spent my money a bit better. Dan Serlin bought one, and he's like, it's all right. It was like $700 he bought.
Some of them are so expensive. It's just like,
I probably could have spent it. Yeah, so I probably could have spent more money on something better.
They're so noisy too.
I've
used
used
it in the
it.
house.
I've put it on, and it feels so uncomfortable. Like it's just everything's shaky. I don't know. That's just me personally, though.
Yeah.
But I've gotten further and further away from like SMR modalities anyway. Personally, I used to roll all the time, and I haven't, apart from like using the roller to do some like T-spine, like just to extend before bench through my back. I don't really use it for anything other than an adductor squeeze. These
I
days.
think if you're not running, then I think the real benefit of the roller is it's that DOMS and tightness cause from eccentric stress. Like, so if you're not dealing with a lot of ground reaction forces, it's probably not that bad. And if your muscles are in good shape, it's probably not that beneficial.
I'm all for anything that makes you feel better. I'm all for. I don't like because we have a bit of a qualm with the whole science evidence based thing where it's not proven in science, it doesn't exist, and it's
same.
Which I like science, I love science, but I also understand that we're humans. We have a subjective experience, and if things make you feel better and perform better, and it's fucking do it. Like you with the gun, do it. Like if you say it makes you feel better, use the shit out of it. Like who am I to say, or science to say, it doesn't. But research doesn't back it.
Also, the thing that drives me and I've got a post that I'm working on about this. The thing that drives me crazy is you actually read scientific papers. They don't say science tells us. They say the results suggest.
Yeah.
Because they know that like science is, this great big. Science is a small spotlight on a great big wall. Reality is a great big wall. Science is a spotlight, and we want to use that spotlight. But just because it hasn't had the spotlight shone on it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means it hasn't had it shone on it. But people, particularly if we find for our end, are just so obsessed with evidence-based practice. Like, what about practice-based evidence? Like, that's okay too. Like, you can put the two together.
100%.
I'm
I'm reading a book at the moment called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert Zapolsky. It's all about the stress response.
Yeah, okay.
And he actually talks about the fight or flight response, which we all know for sympathetic drive, but that the fight or flight response might not actually be 100% accurate for females. Really? And that most research has been done by males on males.
Yeah.
And that the fight or flight response for females is actually attend and befriend. So their first response in high amounts of stress is to tend to their young ones and befriend and sort of calm the situation rather than stand and fight.
I have not found that to be accurate in my life. My wife doesn't listen to the podcast. It's fine.
I don't know. It just got me thinking again. It's like, that's kind of interesting. All the research has been done by males on males, and so it was just made again think critically about it. So it's the little qualm I have with the science thing is just.
Well, Jacob, what are the stats? There's a really ridiculous percentage of science that is done on white males that are like 22 to 28, because they're the ones that are at they're at uni. They're your subjects. Like
that's where the fight or flight came through. You picked the batch of males that have the highest amount of testosterone.
Yeah,
just ready to go off at any second.
Yeah, exactly. That's so interesting. I want to hear with what else in the powerlifting space is. What's the next thing coming up? Is AI really coming? Is that a genuine thing?
Well, we had Chad Wesley Smith on the podcast, our podcast recently, and when we talk about like science entering powerlifting and all of a sudden we're starting to question some of those long-held traditions that we did have, he's probably one of the main voices of that, where we should be looking at data and actually getting a more fine-tuned response towards the specific athlete. And he, along with a guy called Garrett Blevins, has developed it's not true AI. AI, I believe, needs to be able to think for itself, but it's not. It's just huge algorithms with almost infinite amount of outputs driven by the data input that you put in through the ever evolving program. But I think he came up with, I think the initial program adjustment, there is like 16 quintillion or something, quintillion. It's like 16.
I don't even know what that is.
It's got like 15 zeros after it. It's a stupidly large, but the spreadsheet and the thing that they've created that they call their AI has that many potential outputs as a result of the first data set of inputs that you put in. And then obviously it just evolves and evolves and evolves as you stay on the program longer and longer. So that sort of stuff is definitely entering our space. And this is the thing, and this is something that Didier spoke about last year at our Congress, is that if you're in the coach, and this is the whole thing about catalyst and traction that you were talking about, and the personal side of things matters, because it's only a matter of time until programming by a computer is going to be better than any programming that the four of our brains could put together. You could get 100 strength coaches together and put it together, but a computer will out-program, quote-unquote, program a whole group of cohort of coaches, because we all have our own subjective biases and our blind spots and all of that sort of stuff. Where a computer doesn't. It just sees data and reacts to the data.
Computers, Jamie, are also really cheap is the big
yeah.
one. So all they have to do is be as good as one coach, and you can run them on 10 watts per minute. Oh, how much does electricity cost? Cool, that's going to be cheper.
Yeah. So
cheaper than a salary.
AI, I don't know if a self-thinking, self-motivating computer that's going to program powerlifters is coming, but computer-generated programs that are far more intelligent than what anyone here will be able to put together is definitely coming, or it's already here. And as more people enter the sport, more money comes into the sport, more potential for businesses to generate higher profit margins come out of this whole cauldron of powerlifting and strength training. I do believe that it will eventually take over the programming aspect. It won't take over the coaching aspect because a computer can't. But it will definitely, I think, it is going to take over the programming side of skills, without a doubt. At some point, I don't know when, but the tipping point will come.
They're doing it in football preseason load monitoring. So I went to a free talk. I forgot where it was, but it was a while, not that long ago, where a researcher from La Trobe got all this data on professional AFL football teams and their preseason running load session by session as they ramped up to round one, and they gave all that data to a computer, and the computer started spitting out session plans based on what you did in the past and how much load you needed, and week by week acute to chronic workload ratio calculations and tapering and deloads and all that sort of stuff, and built programs that were as good, if not better, than the coaches. So just gave it a bunch of retrospective seasons and go, okay, this season you're going to do this for your your seniors and for your veterans, and this for your rookies, and it created those running plans. So if you can do it for running, then it's the same rules for lifting.
It's the same. It's just load. Yeah, you just got to understand load and prescription of it and progression of it.
Yeah,
the modality doesn't really matter.
That's an interesting trend. I got another question to throw at you. What do you think? Team sport athletes and track and field athletes and swimmers, what do you think they can learn from powerlifting athletes? What do you think? Because there's always got to be a bit of cross-pollination. What do you think that they suck at? That if you could just take a bit of that from the powerlifters and give it to the team sport athletes?
That's a big question.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, because I don't have a. We don't really have that much insight into other sports at the moment. I got a little thought, but I'm curious as well.
If you asked me this 3 years ago, I would have said strength training. Just do more strength training. Strength training is the answer. Force equals power. Power equals speed. Like that whole stick. But the more that I've realized what actual athletes need in regards to strength training, and just really it's just a bit of coordinated awareness of their body under load. That whole side of I would never. Strength training is not the answer to your sporting performance. it's just not. So 2-3 years ago, I would have said that, but now I'm just like, no, that's not true. What could they learn from powerlifters? I don't know. It's more what can powerlifters learn from other sports, because powerlifters get these fucking goggles that they don't look anywhere else with. And they think that they're this high almighty being of force production, but in reality, you can't do anything. You can't climb a set of stairs. You can't do anything without being puffed out. You're hypertensive. You're pre-diabetic at the age of 25. It's like all these sort of. I think it's what can powerlifters learn from actual sports with long history of.
Yeah. We'll go the other way.
I'll go the other way.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
I've started to change my perspective of what I do as a coach. Is not because I've been implementing like tracking all my clients, or most of my clients that want to do it. There's a few that won't and don't, but their step count, been seeing their minimum 8,000 a day, making sure that they are eating fruits and vegetables just a couple of times a day. Make sure you litter those in with your meals. And the other one is meditation. I'm trying to push that onto more people, or even just a form of vox breathing, with just a 6-6-6 tempo. So 6 second inhale, 6 second hold, 6 second exhale. When
and that's
people
with your calves resting up on a box, knees bent.
No, that doesn't even need to be that. You can be sitting in a chair or anything. It's more to just drive some parasympathetic tone, and that's tying in with the book that I'm reading too. It's making me see it a little bit more. We just sort of need to be able to access that realm as well for rest and recovery. And so I feel like those are my job as a coach, to sort of implement those little health tools that are going to improve their basic health markers. But yeah, I don't know. We often talk about that. A lot of powerlifters don't treat themselves like athletes. Like you see powerlifters on the gym floor eating fucking donuts and shit, like
sculling a bit of whiskey before this set.
Oh yeah, Chris Duffin. Yeah, I find that funny. I'm all for that. Try that one, but yeah, I guess I went through this myself as well. Like, because I'm lifting heavy weights, I'm healthy. And I started the same thing. I was walking upstairs. I'm like, I can't breathe anymore. And that's sort of where the buying the bike came from.
Yeah, tell us about that, because there has historically been a real allergy to cardio. It's like cardio is the mark of a wimp. Is almost like the view. You've got into the bike.
That's definitely a trend that I feel is changing quite a bit.
Yeah.
We rode bikes a lot as kids. We always used to go on bike rides with our parents. Dad cycled as well. My mum's brother was a cyclist, so he got me and my brother into watching the Tour de France when we were younger, and when Cadell Evans was winning it, and like me and Jamie used to watch and stuff. So I always had this interest in cycling, and had people close to doing it. I always said, I'm like, when I get older, I can see myself cycling. It's just cool pastime. You ride along, you can go do really nice rides in really nice parts of Victoria, and you can even ride around the world and go on, like, people do trips and stuff. And it's a pretty cool thing. So anyway, then the boys started doing it in lockdown 1, and then when lockdown 2 hit, I was like, fuck it, I'm just buying a bike.
Yeah, cool.
And so I just bought one, and the first couple of rides were a bit fairly brutal, and now they're starting to become a lot more enjoyable, because I'm starting to actually get a little bit more of an aerobic work capacity, which is kind of nice. And I guess subjectively, I do feel like my sessions are easier. So it's as I said in one of the YouTube videos I made, I'm sort of just going to be my own study, cool. And try and get stronger. At the moment, I'm really only riding once a week. I ride on a Sunday. Did 42 kilometers on Sunday, just gone. And when I first started, my average speed was like 19 kilometers an hour, and now I'm at 24.
That's great.
So I want to get up to 30. That's my goal. 30 kilometers an hour.
30. That's good going for you, because you would have a fair bit of wind resistance. You're not going to be cutting a good shape through that air. Yeah,
that's what the boys say. They sit behind me. They're like, you block the really good slipstream. So, but I guess I try and have a little bit more of a longer view of. I think with powerlifting too, everyone gets so short-sighted, and there's also this big barrier with this whole juniors thing, and everyone wants to juniors, which is under 23s in powerlifting. They want to break this record, break that record, do this, do that, do this, and then they hit opens and they just stop. And so I guess for me is just trying to have a bit more of a longer viewpoint with it, and that it is something I want to have. I'm trying to work my words right here, but it's just something I want to be a bit more sustainable with.
Yeah.
So that means making sure that I'm walking every day and have a little bit of aerobic fitness. I'm not climbing up a set of stairs and can't breathe. And I guess I was trying to have that a little bit more of a mindset, rather than just being it's short-sighted and it's just I want to break this record in 3 months and hit this weight in 3 months and just force myself to do it, and have clients do that as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes so much sense to me. I might have told you guys this before, but I'll never forget a senior powerlifting person quite a long time ago made a passing comment. He's like, it's if you can just get through past your 40s, there's so many records up for grabs.
In the Masters.
and I've seen people who literally pick it up in their 50s and collect records because they just didn't have all that damage from their 20s and 30s.
I don't know. The records really don't mean anything to me. When I first got into that trap too, when I first started this record, I was looking at all the records, and I was like, now my perspective on what it means to me has changed a lot. It's more about the discipline of just sticking to something and doing it, and seeing myself get better in it. But also because I'm kind of interested in what the potential of the human body has for myself anyway. And that's sort of where I'm more interested in that than records and all that. And the funny thing is, when you focus a little bit more and we talk about the journey, you sort of will get to the destination. But I think early on I was very focused on destination. I want to deadlift 300. I want to do this. And the funny thing is, I've done all that. Like, I've deadlifted 300 now. I've deadlifted more than 300. And did anything change about me? No, not really. I'm still the same person. Nothing changed. How did it feel? It was the exact same as how my first 1RM deadlift felt. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And it's the same. So even when I go to 320 and 330 deadlift and whatnot, the value I have on me as a human doesn't change. Is what I'm trying to sort of say. And I think early on, when people get into powerlifting, they get very caught up in the numbers. So your answer to your question about it's more what can powerlifters take from other athletes.
Yeah.
We got there.
We got there.
That's good. Sorry, so many other little questions. Sumo deadlifts have become a massive thing. People have just moved away from. There's much less prevalent of the bent back, narrow kneed, narrow stance deadlift. And you guys, exclusively sumo or almost? I see when I see your footage, it's most of what I see seems to be sumo. Yeah,
we got a lot of guys doing sumo, but like, you look at probably the two best deadlifters we have, Chris Yip and Jason Stupas. Both of them, if you put them in conventional, they wouldn't pull anywhere near as much as they do. So, like, significantly, it'd be a big reduction in performance. So they're both over 300 kilo deadlifters at 70, 75 kilo body weight.
That's crazy.
Which is a lot. And they would both probably be well under 250, I reckon, for conventional. Almost I think Stupas definitely would be. Actually, both of them would be. So it's
debilitated afterwards as well.
Yeah, we're talking about a 20% reduction in performance. So, but our attitude is also it's a little bit safer. If the person can get in that position, a little bit more upright, less stress on the back, it can be. So we sort of push people there. If
there's pros and cons to both stances, and it will always be an individual. You got a context depending on whether or not you're a sumo puller or a conventional puller. But from a biomechanical standpoint, I think if you can get into sumo and tolerate the hip position progressively over time, you probably will be stronger in sumo. And again, strength is relative. You'll be able to put more weight on the bar and lift it to your hips in a sumo position if your hips can tolerate a true sumo position. I do believe most people will be there. But then it gets into the larger bodies, different anthropometry, the hip anatomy, and the actual structure of each individual's hip socket and femur and rotation capacity and all that sort of stuff will influence all of that. But I think if you can play around with sumo, like you can tolerate it, you can do 3 or 4 sets and progress it over week on week on week, it's something worth exploring, because I think, biomechanically there are some advantages to sumo that just conventional doesn't offer. Yeah.
Which do you do, Jamie?
Right now, nothing. I haven't done anything for this whole year, pretty much.
Really?
My heaviest deadlift was a sumo deadlift as well, but I could sort of go both. But yeah, my heaviest was a sumo deadlift. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I should hasten to add a couple of things for our athletes. Jamie was talking before about how it's not all about strength. It is still about some strength, just not all the strength.
Yeah, yeah. I'll come back and clean that up. No, there's definitely value in getting stronger. 100%.
Good.
But there's no value in going from a 150 kilo deadlift to a 160 kilo deadlift.
Exactly.
There is no value in chasing a higher. Yeah. Once you've accumulated a good foundation of training within the gym, and you can probably lift 1.5, maybe double your body weight in a good bilateral movement, whichever is suited for you and your sport and your injury history and all that sort of stuff, definitely. But if you are already at those sort of levels, you're probably best to go and do some true power training, some true speed training, or just get better at the bloody sport that you're playing in. Yeah. Rather than chasing an extra 10 kilograms on your deadlift or an extra 5 kilograms on your overhead press or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've found 1.4 to 1.7 seems to be the sweet spot. That's where you're getting really good value. Anything above that, anything below that, and you maybe want to still shoot up to it, but anything above that's just silly.
It's just Some people will naturally just be stronger individuals that can produce easy, like those sort of forces better. Like we definitely have those guys. But yeah, chasing more load for the sake of chasing more load and more weight it's not the answer. It never was the answer. I was blinded by
We all get very excited about that at the start. I think it's pretty universal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this has been awesome. We should probably wrap it up because you guys have got actual stuff to do. What's on the horizon? Tell us about so you've got the Strength Congress coming up at some point.
That's about a month away. Yeah.
Just
about a month away.
Yeah, so we got that
and
coming up.
Is that going to be virtual?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it has to be, yeah. So it's on Zoom. I'm a little nervous about it just because, I don't know. I think technology is fantastic, but also technology has this huge ability to just not work, as we saw today with our audio at the start. So it's trying to organize international guests and recording things and making sure the recordings work, making sure audio is high quality, all that sort of stuff. So I'm a little bit nervous from that sort of stuff, but that is happening. Tickets are pretty cheap because it is online. We don't really have any overheads other than paying the external guests.
Yep.
So they're $59. There's 9 talkers or speakers, which will be cool. A wide breadth of topics to be covered, which will be fun. Last year was awesome in person, and I wish we could do it in person, but it's just obviously not the
Last year was one of the favorite things I've ever been to. It was such a great energy. It was such a really nice community. It was the culture of it was just. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it was. It was. It's probably one of my highlights from what we've been able to do over the last 4 years with our small business out of a small garage factory in Moorabbin. It is pretty cool. So that's one thing coming up. Other than that, we're just fingers crossed that hopefully we'll be able to open no later than the end of the year. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're going to start doing some personal training in the car park for people as of this Saturday, and then I guess in about 3 weeks you'll be able to have 10 people at a time. So we'll probably we're looking at do we maybe turf, because we've got that outdoor section that 30 meters long by 3.5 wide down the side. So maybe we turf that because I don't know whether we're going to be properly open till like business as usual might not be till December. Who knows?
Well, I think November 23rd or whatever is the indoor gym thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully cases are definitely dropping.
Right.
So hopefully it gets accelerated a little bit. But yeah, I think November's probably going to be best case scenario.
Yeah. So it'll be good. It'll be good to reopen. Do you think we're really unsure of how busy we're going to be? It's like, are we going to have all this pent up demand and it's going to be crazy, or are people going to stay away a little? It's such a hard thing to pick. Where have you guys landed?
Yeah, definitely. The unfortunate thing is we can't use our car park because it's shared space, and none of our insurances cover it. So we can't. We're actually not. Yeah, we're not allowed to use ours, which is unfortunate. But what we did experience that 3 weeks that we were open, we had more leads than ever before.
Yeah.
In a 1 month period, we had more in that 3 weeks. So I don't know if you guys were the same, but we definitely.
Yeah, we were flat chat.
Yeah, we definitely felt whoa, holy moly. So there is exciting times ahead for our industry, and any coaches out there that have been deflated as a result of the COVID year. Stay true, build your systems, improve your systems, and improve what you can do for people, because there will be some benefit on the other side of all this. There has to. It's like a slingshot. It's just drawing us back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a great analogy. I like it. That's a good one to close on, I reckon. It's a little bit of an inspiring analogy to leave with. And so people, in terms of following you, so there's the strength culture on Insta.
YouTube.
There's just Melbourne strength culture everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jamie, what's your one called? I mean, I follow it, but I just can't remember.
Instagram, j.smith.culture.
Yep. Cool.
Smith Culture. Yep.
And the business one?
It's Strength Coach Development. So it's worth following for the future, but for right now, it's just like, we're just going to take that name and just placehold that. But similar to what you guys have done with offering a battery of smaller things where you can just sort of nibble at topics, take a chunk of a topic out and independently look at that. That's something that we're building out. So the business of strength is actually the first piece of that. It's the introduction to business. We've got an introduction to human movement one coming. We're going to have a programming one that Charlie's going to spearhead the start of next year. So we're going to be doing something similar where we've got some. We've just place-held strength coach development. It's not really anything right now. It's just like, it's coming. So give us another 12 to 18 months and that will be full-blown rolling. But yeah.
I love it.
And then for your audience, because this is a combined show, I'm
forgetting about that.
We're just Core Advantage. Durham's on as well under his name, Durham McInnes.
Jacob doesn't post a hell of a lot.
Did you buy a Tesla? I saw you had a
no. Jacob leased. You saw the one. I saw it over summer. He leased it over summer.
Yeah,
the white one. And I was like, what the hell?
You made like 2 posts, but they're on different days. I was like, hang on, did you get a Tesla?
No. There's a company that you can hire them for a week. So I hired my dream car for a week and took it down to the beach and drove around Wilson's Prom and stuff like that, and it was freaking amazing. So I'm saving my pennies. Every single one of them.
So cool. So Jacob's pretty quiet on the social, but I'm on a push. So what's my is it Durham.McInnes? Come on, Jacob, help me out.
I think if you live in Melbourne and you follow any of these pages and you search for Durham, he'll show up. The algorithm's pretty strong these days. And then we are core_advantage on Instagram, and we've got a YouTube channel where all the podcasts and stuff goes to.
Awesome. All right. Thanks heaps, guys. It was great fun, and thanks for putting up with all my questions.
That was good. Enjoyed it.
That was good.
Thank you. See you soon.
The round table needs to happen a little bit more often, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon. We'll do it again. Let's make a plan to catch up once we're back open again, and we can compare back open notes sometime either in late this year or early next.
We'll go Jan.
Jan? Yeah.
That's a placeholder for the start of next year. Yeah.
Nice year wrap.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Do I need to do anything on these bloody technologies?
Oh wait, we'll do it. Yeah, let's say goodbye and then we'll work it out.
And before you go, hear from some of our alumni about our career transforming course, the online mentorship. Learn more about how you can join at our website.
I learnt the theory stuff at uni, but I didn't know how to apply it, and coming to Core Advantage was how I bridged that gap. So I knew the stuff, but I didn't know how to do the stuff.
It was something that I needed to do personally for my own development, and it's allowed me to work in elite sport for now 5 years, so it was a massive help.
I think mentorship is really important, and being able to ask questions all the time, and the Core Advantage course allows that because there is a big team of people that you can ask questions.
I get to train professional athletes every week, work really closely with professional athletes, which is awesome. A lot of the skills that I'm applying I learned through the program at Core Advantage.
It's not just something that you read and then think about and then go, oh, how does that tie into everything? It's something that practical that you can turn around and go, this is exactly how I'm going to apply it. And the concepts that you learn help you as a coach, as a professional, as a person. Yeah, it's awesome. Definitely go and do it.
To sign up for the online mentorship, head to coreadvantage.training/mentorship.